Alright, so we all know that Apple's custom ARM silicon-based Macs are coming soon, but since they mentioned that there are still more Intel-based Macs in the pipeline, it's really hard to tell which Macs will get released and when during this 2-year transition period that Apple gave us. So in this video, I'm gonna gather up all of the leaks and rumors we currently have to try and figure out what Apple's Mac release timeline will look like over the next 2 years. Now, it's very important to realize that the 2-year transition does not mean that Apple absolutely has to update every single Mac before the 2 years are up. It simply means that after 2 years, we should not expect to see any new Intel-based Macs. But before we get into the video, be sure to check out our Apple product merch right below this video. First, I'm gonna start with the last few Macs ever that will ship with Intel processors. As you probably already know, Apple's 27-inch iMac is in a really weird spot right now because current delivery dates are all the way out into September, which is absolutely ridiculous. This points to a refresh coming very soon, and I personally think it'll be within the next couple of weeks. And recently, we saw new leaked benchmarks of an iMac with a 10-core i9 Intel processor and a new Radeon Pro graphics chip. So this gives us further evidence that an Intel-based Mac is coming soon. And by the way, don't expect any major design changes, since Apple will most likely keep any redesigns for their ARM-based Macs. Now, there's also the chance that Apple will update the iMac Pro just one more time at the end of this year with an Intel processor, most likely a new big Navi graphics card, and a mini LED display, which will give Apple more time before they have to update it again with an Apple Silicon chip in the future. Now, as far as the MacBooks, the only one that might get a refresh with an Intel chip is the 16-inch MacBook Pro. There is a chance that this fall, Apple will quietly update the 16-inch MacBook Pro with a 10th gen chip and minor updates like the possibility of Wi-Fi 6, but don't expect any major design changes. Now, as far as the lower end Macs like the Mac Mini, the MacBook Air, and the 13-inch MacBook Pro, I don't expect those machines to get refreshed with Intel chips anymore. I'm almost 100% positive that the next models will get Apple Silicon. The only Mac left is the Mac Pro, and what I think Apple is gonna do is release an Intel-based Mac Pro right before the 2-year transition period is over. Now, moving on to the release timeline of Apple Silicon Macs, the first one that we should expect is the fully redesigned 24-inch iMac, and rumors are pointing to the release date being between October and the end of the year. I personally think that Apple is going to host an online-only October event where they'll release some Apple Silicon Macs and potentially other Apple products like a new Apple TV 4K and an iPad Air 4. Now, alongside the 24-inch iMac, we should also expect a new Apple Silicon MacBook. Most rumors are pointing to it being a 13-inch MacBook Pro, which will most likely replace the current $1,300 base model. Now, this makes sense because it was the only 13-inch MacBook that didn't get updated to an Intel 10th gen processor, sticking to an outdated 8th gen chip. And as far as the Apple Silicon MacBook Air, the reputable analyst Ming-Chi Kuo thinks that it'll either come in the 4th quarter of this year or the 1st quarter of next year, and either of those dates would make sense. So the lower end Macs, which are aimed at the casual market of users, will be released first, giving Apple and developers more time to optimize performance before the higher end Macs get updated. So let's get right into those. It's now pretty clear that the long-awaited 14-inch MacBook Pro redesign is gonna pack Apple Silicon, and I think it's gonna be the $1,800 model exclusively, and I think it's going to be released alongside the 16-inch MacBook Pro, also with Apple Silicon, and they'll both probably come with new mini LED displays. As far as the release date, rumors are pointing to them getting released anywhere from June 2021 to the end of September, but it may even be released at Apple's 2021 October event. Now, as far as the Mac Mini, it's in a pretty weird spot since it's on the cheaper side, but it's also used by professionals. And then there's also the fact that Apple used it for their developer transition kit, But since we haven't heard any rumors about the Apple Silicon version coming anytime soon, I'd place my bets on it getting released sometime late next year, since that's when the last 3 Mac Mini models were released. Now, as far as the higher-end 5K iMac, there's a chance that Apple might not even update it with an ARM-based chip until 2022, past the 2-year transition period, since it's used by a lot of high-end professionals. But on the other hand, it would definitely be weird for the 24-inch iMac to be using Apple Silicon for 2 full years while the 27-inch is still on Intel. So for that reason, I think we'll see a full redesign with a mini LED display and ARM-based chip in the spring or summer of next year. And then there's the iMac Pro. And I personally think Apple could potentially wait until 2023 to finally update it again with Apple Silicon, since they need the extra time to get it optimized before bringing it to the high-end market. And the only Mac left is the Mac Pro. And since that Mac is meant to be upgradable, I think Apple won't update it with an ARM-based chip until at least 2023 or 2024. And at that point, they'll either come out with their own Apple dedicated GPUs, or they'll find some sort of way to have ARM-based add-in cards that are replaceable. One of our viewers mentioned something about CCIX, allowing you to interconnect the main central chip and various dedicated accelerator cards without losing much bandwidth. Now, I don't really know much about this, but it would totally make sense for Apple to use this in their ARM-powered Mac Pro. So there you guys have it. That's how I think Apple will handle their transition to their Apple Silicon. If this video was helpful, be sure to tap the like button below and click that circle above to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.